Wow, that was a long introduction. I don't remember half that stuff, and I'm exhausted listening to it. Thank you for having me. Thanks for letting a bloke get on the stage. It's a pleasure and an honour to be here among such powerful women. I wanted just to tell you, I guess, a bit of my learning from my life, really, and I hope you find it useful and interesting. So I'm going to share it anyway. So basically, I realised that throughout my whole life, I've been told what I'm absolutely shit at. I did wonder if I can say that, and I've been assured that it's okay to use that word. So everywhere I was told this. So when I was a kid, I used to love drawing. And I used to love drawing cars. My folks had a car dealership, so I loved drawing cars. And I used to take these pictures to my dad of these cars, and he'd always find something wrong with the bloody car. Like the wheels were too square, or I missed the bump rod, or the... Anyway, I went back and looked at these cars, and they weren't that bad, actually, in my pictures. Anyway, so my dad was always trying to get me to be better, and always found something wrong. And then at school, you know, I was always told that I needed to try harder, I needed to, you know, focus more. And my reports always says, Andrew is a very nice boy, however. Like every single one, it's always like, however. Oh, here we go. And at school, my dream was to be an architect. And I remember going to my careers counsellor, and she said, so, you know, what do you want to do when you leave school? And I just done, you know, like that first bit of like exams and stuff when they start to work out whether you're a complete idiot or not. And I must say, I did spend most of my school life looking out the window, which was much more interesting than what was going on in class. Anyway, so I said, yeah, I want to be an architect. And she says, well, you're not good enough at maths, you won't be an architect. And I was completely horrified. So I said, well, how about I become a career counsellor? Because there's no skill to that, is there? So that was totally the end of the advice that I was going to get. And I was sent out. And that's kind of like the story of my education. I was completely rubbish at school. I'm not an academic. I'm more interested in, I guess, connecting with people and trying to do stuff that creates value, that people value enough they want to pay for it. So I was always more interested in that. So then when I got to work, I got into this kind of corporate environment, and I don't know about all of you, but in a corporate environment, everyone seems to want to make you really boring and average. So everyone starts talking about development points. So you're amazing, we hired you for being amazing. However, you should be a little less like you, and a little bit more like everybody else. And then we have this obsession with telling people, this is what's wrong with you. So stop being you and start being average. So you know what happens? We hire geniuses and we fire idiots. And in the meantime, we wonder what happened. Well, we told people how to be. And I felt that my entire career I've been told to focus on my weaknesses, to focus on what's wrong with me and do better at that, not to explore my natural strength. So I made partner in 2006, and probably be shot for this, but it was the biggest anticlimax of my life. There's something in the air within, I don't know if this is the same at EY, but certainly at PwC, there's something in the air that gets pumped into the building that says success is making partner. So I breathed the whole thing in. And I made partner, and then I was like, so, you know, what? You know, what is next? Where do I go from here? You know, what's the big deal? Nothing happened. In fact, the only thing that happened was my boss at the time says, we expect 20 years out of you as a partner. And I was like, oh God, I spent a whole year being nice to people to get here. I can't do that for 20 years, it's impossible. So I had a real crisis, and then all of my colleagues suddenly said to me, well, now you're a partner, you know, you won't be able to have lunch with us, you won't be able to have a laugh anymore, you'll have to be, you know, you'll have to be like a partner. You know, so you won't be like Andy anymore. You're going to be like this really stuffy partner, you'll be in your office, you'll be able to work with us. You know, and so everyone started, every grade in the firm, everyone started to tell me how I was going to be. And basically, this concept of being a partner was no longer ending. And I found it really depressing. And it's almost like, I don't know if you heard, that if you put a whole load of crabs in a pot of boiling water and one of them kind of gets out, the other crabs pull in. So we all must die together. And that's how I felt being a partner, actually, in my first year. Then we almost could boil in this together. So I knew that I was different. I knew that I had a strong sense of who I was, and I had a strong belief in who I was. But I also wanted to fit in. I wanted to be part of the organisation. I wanted to play my role, in particular as a partner. As a partner in a big firm, you really do feel a sense of deep responsibility for the staff and for the ongoing nature of the business. So I wanted to fit in. I didn't want to lose myself. So I started to develop this syndrome I've since called, I call it diversity anxiety, which is a different talk. I'll tell you about that later. So I started to develop a syndrome that I call conformity anxiety. So where I started to get really anxious that, you know, I want to be myself, but I don't want to, and I don't want to give away myself, but I also want to be a partner and fit in. In actual fact, I got feedback from one of my bosses at the time, and it was, I couldn't believe he actually wrote it down. He said, Andy needs to learn to be more like a partner first, and Andy second. I just could not believe it. I couldn't believe it. And because I'm a strong person, I immediately just thought, oh my God, what an idiot. He is. I'm like, it wasn't coming to me. I was like, okay, that's it. So I developed this syndrome I call conformity anxiety, and I was really, you know, struggling with it. And so I was kind of fighting to be me, but also trying to fit in. So I became this really irritating, heightened version of me. It was irritating me because I was constantly fighting to be me in this partnership. And it must have been really, well, I know it was, because they gave a lot of feedback about it. It was really irritating for everybody else as well, because I was like this really irritating version of myself. But I thought I was trying to be me. So this whole crazy battle was what I call conformity anxiety. I decided that I had to find a cure for this thing, conformity anxiety. And so I thought, you know, I'm surrounded by some of the smartest people in the world, and some of them work for PwC. Quite a lot of them. I best start talking to people. So I started chatting to people about, you know, what this situation was. Why did I have to fight to fit in? Did I have to fight to fit in? What was going on? And so loads of people came to see me, and I had some meetings with people, and I got recommended about 1 million books. As people were like, oh, you must read this book. You must read this book. You've got to buy this book. And I have to tell you, I bought every single book. I have read none of them. But I've got a theory about books, which is that if you buy them, the person who recommends them, they will tell you what it's all about anyway. When you buy it, you might scan it like quickly and you'll get something. And then when you've got it in your office, someone will come along and try and steal it and tell you why it's amazing. And then they'll bring it back and tell you how fabulous it was. So you don't have to waste your time reading the book. And I haven't got time for that, so I will, I'm sure at some point I'll read all the books that I've got. So I've got loads of books, and loads of people came to talk to me about this thing. So I decided to develop a thing that I call Genius Power Dream, which was a workshop, 3-hour workshop, to help people explore who they are. Then understand the power and impact they can have when they are being who they are, and then think about their dreams for their life. So if you know what you're naturally good at, you know the power and impact you can have when you're being naturally you, asking yourself then, well, what are you doing with your life, so the dreams bit. And I wanted to use this as an approach to understand this problem of conformity anxiety. So I had about 2,500 people go through this workshop so far. I actually just finished running one this morning for our BRS partners, people that work on insolvency and administration program. And what has been amazing in this process of talking to people about their strengths is that every single person I know has had exactly the same experience. So at school they were told what they need to do better at constantly. They weren't necessarily told what they're naturally good at. At home they were told what they need to get better at. And at work they've constantly been told what they need to get better at. And people find it, the 2,500 people that I work with, people found it really difficult to start to believe what they're naturally good at, their natural strengths. So it's been really interesting. So we've been trying to uncover this thing. And we've kind of created a bit of a revolution, if you like, around strengths, getting people to talk about and think about strengths. And what we found is that when people focus on exploration of their own strengths and exploration of each other's strengths, that they're happier, they're healthier, They have a lot more fun at work. And most interestingly, for me, is that when you explore natural strengths, what we found is that you disable or you mute unconscious bias. So people that normally would make judgments about people's performance or ability to perform, in particular with women and minority groups, those judgments are lessened through the exploration of natural strength. So if you're intrigued in what's right for someone, then you start to understand what's really going on with them, and you don't deploy your unconscious bias. So that's what we found. So we found that this strengths revolution, if you like, can disable unconscious bias. What I also found out, which I found really interesting, and usually when I talk about this, I have someone who does the science, kind of standing next to me, and tells you all about the research, and it's all amazing, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I believe it anyway. What we also found out is that when you give people development feedback, actually what that does is it triggers the primitive brain. So when you say to someone, I want to give you some feedback, and I don't know if you can feel that, I feel that, like, there's like a in my head. I want to give you some feedback. So thank you so much. It engages your primitive brain, and your primitive brain is designed to protect you, from like the Stone Age when we were attacked by monsters. So what you're going to do when all that happens if you tell someone I want to give you feedback is they're going to deploy complex denial and they're going to try to escape. And you can feel it when you say, I want to give you some feedback. Whereas if you help someone to identify what they're naturally good at, so if you say that, what I found is when you're at your best, you're like this, you're amazing, this is what your natural strengths are. It engages the frontal cortex of the brain. Those of you who know psychology will know this. But for me, it was really interesting that if you could just explore strength, you engage that frontal cortex and someone would take it on board. So you could say to someone, actually, do you know what, you're amazing at this, this, and this. If you could address these things, you could be there even more often. You could be even more amazing, more often, more consistently. So we are just loving this strength stuff, and it's created a huge energy and a huge buzz. And even our most challenging partner group, who are into big failure in business, insolvency, are loving it, which is amazing. I'm still shocked by that. So this strength revolution has been brilliant. But then I found, actually, this stuff is really hard. So strengths are amazing, exploring strengths is amazing. It does so many brilliant things, but actually it's really hard. I was running a workshop, a 4-hour workshop one morning, just talking about strengths and helping people explore strengths. And then in the afternoon I had to do one of the most bizarre things that we have to do as partners, which is to go to a PwC induction event and act like a partner. So I'm asked to role model a partner in a scenario for people coming in on induction, which I think is bizarre. I've got to pretend to be a partner. I'm not a partner. So this group of people who are joining the firm come in, there's about 15 of them, and they're all supposed to present to me as the partner pretending to be the partner. They're supposed to present to me their ideas for this new bid that we're going to do with this client, and it's always a coffee company for some reason, I don't know why, it's like this case study that never ends. For like 15 years, I think we've been using this coffee company case study, and it keeps coming back. So they're supposed to present to me, then they go away, and then I'm supposed to write loads of notes, and then I go to the room where they're all together, and I accumulate them all together in one go with their feedback. So I'm sat there, having spent 4 hours talking about strengths, sat there writing, well, she didn't say much, he didn't say much, she talked over that other one, this one was doing absolutely nothing and asked really stupid questions, blah, 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 all this stuff. And I suddenly stopped myself, I'm like, Andy, you're a complete idiot. This is something that happens quite a lot, actually. Andy, you just spent 4 hours talking about strengths, and you're now giving someone the most rubbish feedback they could ever have. You're now telling someone, this amazing genius that we just hired, this team of 12 geniuses, whatever it was, you need to stop being yourself, you need to be more like this. And turn yourself down, become average, and work to your weaknesses. I couldn't believe that even I was doing that. So I kind of screwed it all up, rewrote the feedback, really thought about what are they good at, what are they naturally good at, what worked well, and then could I place the stuff that was really quite wrong in the context of what they did well, so that they could at least take it on board. So I redid it, and I was quite pleased with myself at the end of it. I thought my feedback was quite fabulous. But it reminded me just how hard it is. So whilst I love this strengths revolution and the focus on strengths, and I'm totally committed to what it can do for us, it's really hard to overturn years of being told what you're rubbish at. And it's really hard to stop yourself from giving people really rubbish feedback. But what I would say is that if you want to be part of the strength revolution, I've got 4 things that I think you could do, and then I'm going to leave you alone. Okay, so the 4 things are, number 1, I think the first step for me was to just open myself up to believe that I've got a unique set of strengths and genius inside me, that I'm absolutely unique, and I've got unique strength and power. So that was the first thing I would say. So open yourself up to let yourself believe that you've got uniqueness inside of you, that you're not the same as everyone else, and you never will be. The second thing is to start asking people for strength-based feedback. So ask people, when did you see me at my best? What was going on? Get them to tell you the story of when they saw you at your best. That's number 2. Number 3 is to tell people when you saw them at their best. So give people strength-based feedback. And the last one is that I would just encourage you, as I do myself, and this is kind of like my own therapy, so I have to keep telling myself these 4 things. Okay? So thank you for being here. The fourth thing is to create space to have a discussion about strengths and the power of strengths, and what's unique and right with people, and to cut down conversation which talks about what's wrong with people, and continue to explore and open up conversation about what is right with people. So those are my 4 tips. Thank you very much.